What is up, Cowboys fans? Good morning to you. Welcome into another edition of the Dallas Cowboys Daily Blitz podcast right here on FanStream Sports. It is 7 a.m. Definitely like the 9 a.m.s better. I'm not going to lie. I like the 9 a.m.s better, and we'll probably go to that full-time starting September 1st. So make a note. September 1st. We'll just make it official. I know I've teased it. Let's make it official. I literally just decided right as I was hitting record. 9 a.m. it is. That's where we're going, starting from September 1st going forward here on the live. Of course, you can watch it whenever you want. You don't have to join us live. We appreciate when you do across all of our FanStream Sports YouTube channels, on X, on Facebook. We're literally whenever you want over at fanstreamsports.com. Look, I wanted to talk about something interesting. I don't think I've touched on this much this offseason. And look, after what we watched from the Cowboys secondary last season, atrocious. I'm not sure anybody expected us to have this conversation this quickly, but here we are. Could the Dallas Cowboys actually have one of the best secondaries in the NFL in 2026? What? DaRon Bland thinks they can. And considering what Christian Parker has done with his defense so far, I'm starting to understand why. So let's start with just how bad things were last year. What an absolute disaster last year was. Under Matt Eberflus, the Cowboys secondary was not just inconsistent at times. It looked completely lost. Blown assignments, communication breakdowns, receivers running free down the field with nobody 15 to 20 yards in sight. And it kept happening. It wasn't just like isolated incidents. It happened over and over and over. Things that I have been watching football literally since birth. Thank you, Dad. Things I have never seen happen on a football field defensively. You know, it looked like an NFL team playing a Division II college team. Just like no clue what was happening. You know, and there were moments when Dallas wasn't just getting beaten physically. They were getting beaten even before the ball was snapped because players didn't know what was happening. Guys weren't on the same page. That is what Christian Parker inherited. And now Parker arrived in Dallas. You know, it's a pretty impressive resume when it comes to developing defensive backs. He's worked with Patrick Surtain, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell. Those guys are real good. And Christian Parker helped him get that way. And look, this Cowboys defense, and especially the secondary, needed desperately more than just new players. This thing needed a direction. It needed an organization. It needed some confidence. And so far, it looks like Parker has provided all of these. And so, yes, Dallas also deserves credit, though, for changing some of the personnel. This isn't the same secondary we watched get torched last year. The Cowboys added Jalen Thompson, Cobie Durant, P.J. Locke. They drafted Caleb Downs, who might be one of the most interesting chess pieces on this little Cowboys defense. Downs gives Parker flexibility. We have talked about that for sure a lot this season, this offseason. He can play deep. He can move into the box. He can cover. He can blitz. You can disguise what you're doing because of Caleb Downs' flexibility, maneuverability, whatever you want to call it. Christian Parker is able to disguise things before the snap to confuse the quarterback. That is a big part of where he came from. That is a big part of his defensive philosophy, and it's a big part of why they got Caleb Downs, why they wanted him so bad. And that alone could make this defense considerably harder for quarterbacks to diagnose. And then we get to two players who might just be every bit as important as the newcomers are. It's Shavon Revel and DaRon Bland. So far this offseason, Revel finally looks healthy. He looks comfortable. He looks confident. By all accounts, he had some of his best practices since joining the Cowboys over in Oxnard this offseason, and that carried into the joint work against the Rams. And that is a major development if you're paying attention. Because Revel has the size, the length, the athletic ability to become a true, legitimate difference maker on the outside, I think. And then you've got Bland. Healthy again after dealing with that foot thing. And he's starting to look like the playmaker corner that we remember. With all those pick sixes. And when Bland was asked just how good this secondary can become, he didn't lower any of the expectations. He used the word exceptional. But he didn't stop there. He went even further. He said this group could be one of the best in the league once everybody gets on the same page. And that's a giant statement, I think. I mean, yes, consider the source. But is he right? I mean, if we look at things, he didn't say they were going to be. He said they could be. And I kind of get it. I kind of see why. You know, but before we start printing Super Bowl tickets, just because the secondary has had a good training camp, let's tap the brakes a little bit. We have to put some of this into perspective. I know, it's August. Nobody's played a meaningful snap yet. After what happened last season, I'd probably settle for the Cowboys secondary to just be competent at this point, right? But there are legitimate reasons for optimism here. The unit already looks more organized than it did all of last year. Guys appear to understand their responsibilities. You're hearing fewer reports about busted coverages and wide open receivers. And maybe even more importantly, the Cowboys seem to have some depth. Julius Wood and Elijah Clark have flashed. You still have Kalen Carson and Josh Butler in the mix. And the Cowboys have barely even seen the full impact of Jalen Thompson. So think about that. The secondary already looks more stable, and one of the biggest veteran additions this offseason hasn't even been fully integrated yet. So there could actually be another level to all of this coming. For me, though, the biggest storyline is Christian Parker. The Cowboys didn't need another defensive coordinator who just called a scheme and expected everybody else to figure it out. They needed somebody that could teach, somebody who could develop, somebody who could take talented guys and put them in positions where they can actually succeed. We got none of that last year. And Parker's reputation suggests that's exactly what he does. And if Dallas can combine better coaching with Bland's ball skills, Revel's athleticism, Caleb Downs' versatility, and then add in all of those veteran additions, this thing could go from one of the biggest weaknesses to one of the biggest strengths. And look, maybe Bland is getting a little bit ahead of himself when he says one of the best in football. Or maybe he sees something every day in practice that the rest of us are only starting to notice. The Cowboys secondary was a disaster last year. And now DaRon Bland is calling its potential exceptional. That's a huge turnaround. But if Christian Parker keeps getting this thing to communicate, to play fast, and to eliminate those catastrophic mistakes that we saw so many of last year, exceptional might not sound nearly as crazy by the middle of the season. So Cowboys Nation, I want to know what you think. Can this Cowboys secondary become one of the best in the NFL, or do you see it you need to see it in the regular season before you start buying the hype? I mean, that seems logical, right? But I know one thing. This unit is not going to be the absolute worst in the league. I can tell you that right now. And again, we don't need this thing to be a top 10 defense. We don't need it to be a top 5 defense. The Cowboys have an amazing offense, a ton of firepower. All we need, I've been saying this, I said it last year. All we need from the defense is just don't suck. Just be a top 20. You can be in the bottom, I don't know, third of the league if you want to be, but just don't be the worst. And this thing's got potential. And I am here for it. You guys make sure you like, you subscribe, turn on those notifications so you don't miss a blitz here and there. Again, on Monday, probably the rest of the month to finish out August, 7 a.m., starting September 1st, which I believe is a Tuesday, according to my trusty wall calendar over here. Then we will be doing we'll start at 9. How's that sound? And you guys didn't even tell me I just did the whole show with my J.P. Peterson background, didn't I? All right, well, I'll have to fix it before I get off the air here. Otherwise, it's going to bother me if I don't. So let's go. Hey, there we go. Look at that. I'm in the Cowboy studio. You guys want a little peek into some of the other shows I do? I can talk Aggies for you. I can talk Horns for you, although Horns down. I can talk some Red Raiders. I can even talk some Mavs. You guys want to talk fantasy football? We got that too. A little golf. There you go. There you go. So anyway, I had to make sure I fixed that or it was going to drive me crazy. I just noticed it. Thanks a lot for not telling me. I'm not redoing the show. I'm not going to scrap this after we're done and then come back and do another one later in the day. We're fine. But that is going to do it for us, boys and girls. We'll be back Monday, 7 a.m. Talk some more Cowboys. You guys have a great weekend. Enjoy preseason football. Enjoy that. And let me know what you think about the secondary. Are they fixed? Do we need to see it first? Do we feel good about it? Just tell me how you feel about it. Do you feel good about it, or are you just still sort of, I need to see it in September at least, maybe halfway into October? I would love to hear from you at IndyCarTim on all the socials. And we did have, by the way, I need to bring this up real quick before we go off the air. We did have a guy, someone that commented on Wednesday's show, or on Thursday's show it might have been. I think I still have it. I hope I still have it. Never mind. I'll have to go find it. Oh, here it is right here. It was Gene from Puyallup. I think I said that right. I've never been there. Puyallup, Washington. Talking about the show, I think it was yesterday when I was talking about how this year feels different, and it was, Jerry and the whole front office, this whole offseason feels different. Gene from Puyallup, Washington said, this year does feel different, a mix of young talent and veterans that has a winning season and playoff implications that is inspiring. A veteran like Von Miller can only enhance the chances of a successful season. I'm very impressed with the coaching staff and the players this year. Gene sent that to me to the studio here via the FanStream Sports Studio text line, 214-937-0569. You guys can find us there too, and appreciate Gene. So, yeah, anything Cowboys related you guys want to talk, 214-937-0569. That's our studio text line. It gets forwarded to me if you tell them who you are, where you're from, and what your comment is, and they'll figure out what show it was, and they'll send it to the right host. And for Cowboys, that's me. We'll do it all again on Monday, boys and girls. I appreciate y'all's time. Go have a great day. Have a great weekend. And until Monday, we'll see ya.